Immorality, anti-Semitism, and replacement theology are eroding the foundations of biblical Christianity. HaYavel presents the Heartland Connection, where Christians are equipped to walk out the truth in God's Word and to support the land and people of Israel.
Shalom and welcome to the Heartland Connection. So happy to have you guys here with us today as we study God's holy word right here in the heartland of Israel. And not only are we in the heartland of Israel, but we're studying with Orthodox Jewish Rabbi Yonadav Zar. Welcome, Rabbi Yonadav.
Shalom, Zach.
All right, so this week's Torah portion is Parashat Devarim, which Devarim is a Hebrew word that means words. And we have that here in Deuteronomy chapter 1 in this first verse, as normal for the Torah portion names. And I thought maybe to start off, since we're beginning a new book, if Rabbi Yonadav, if you could give us a little bit of an overview about Deuteronomy, what is special about the book of Deuteronomy?
Okay, this book, we call it the Mishneh Torah.
Just like the explaining or
it's like the second time of the Torah. It's second book, second part. It's it's like to learn the Torah again. This
like
is Mishneh Torah,
like the retelling.
Yes, retelling. And Devarim is not exactly words, but it's like things or talkings. This is the speech of Moses, in the last place before they enter to the land. And it's very important because this is like the conclusion of all the Torah, but in the aspect of the entering to the land, the top of the Torah. Now they are coming to fulfill it in the land. So in this book, Moshe gives them the highlights, the topics, the guidance before they're entering the Holy Land.
So they're right on the edge, about to enter in, and Moshe is giving them his final speech as to make them ready to enter into this. And they've been waiting for this day for so long and preparing throughout the wilderness, and now here they are, and Moshe gives his final speech. So this is a really, really powerful important book, and I like to call it maybe the world's longest sermon, right? It's like this really long message that Moshe gives, which is really amazing because in the beginning we see Moshe, he says, Lord, I don't know if I can do this because I'm slow of speech. And now here we have a very long speech that Moshe gives as they're going into, so we can see that he has received the strength to do what God had wanted him to do and be the leader that God wanted him to be.
In Hebrew, it's the same word, like Moshe told God, Lo ish dvarim anochi. I'm not man of dvarim, of talkings, of speech. And here it says, Ele hadvarim. He became from one who can talk to one who give us such a speech.
Wow.
And our rabbis in the Midrash tell us that the Torah is fix the tongue, the
tongue,
the tongue, because he couldn't speak, and now he speaks and speaks and speaks. Very great long speech.
Wow. Yeah, what an incredible lesson for us to maybe sometimes when we don't feel worthy or able to do God's will, but that God will give us the strength to be able to do what we're called to do.
Yes.
That's really good.
And in details, here the talking, the speaking, the speech, what's the problem? Why Moshe was a murmur?
Like stuttered or slow of tongue, I think.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And now he can talk. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just technique problem. It was a spiritual problem. He has no words to say the great and high ideas of moral and godly ideas. And against the culture, the Egyptian culture, that was the guide, the leading culture, he had no words how to confront, how to fight this culture. And after he accepts the Torah and learn it, it gives him the words how to fight this culture. And he has words now, and he can talk and talk. And like that, in our days, we have to learn deep the Torah and find the words to confront the Western culture. How can you talk about values and to criticize the values of the Western culture, like equality and freedom, and those are good values, but you have to find the words how to criticize exactly and give the view of the Torah to explain why freedom is not equal to hefker in Hebrew. There is freedom and there is a loss of borders. It's not same. And this we can learn from Moshe. Ele Devarim. Now he can talk. Now he can explain. Now he can stand the values of the Torah, the ideals of the Torah, before all the people.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm really excited about digging in and learning more as we go through the book. Just having that intro to this, it's like this is a really powerful, amazing book that we're beginning to study. Which kind of leads me into the next question here. Right at the very beginning, in these first couple of verses, it's a little bit, at least reading in the English here, it's a little bit unclear. Like, what exactly is it talking about? It says, these are the words that Moshe spoke to all of Israel on the other side of the Jordan concerning the wilderness, concerning the Arava, opposite the Sea of Reeds, between Paran and Tophel and Lavan and Chatzerot and Ditzav, 11 days from Horeb by way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. So it seems like maybe he's talking about where they are, but it's like it says concerning these things. So I don't know, it's a little bit unclear. What exactly is he saying by giving those locations?
Okay. First of all, really the translation of concerning is not precise translation, because it's written Ba Midbar, in the wilderness, in the Arava.
Okay.
It's not concerning, but they took the Midrash and used it for the translation, because, like you said, the simple meaning is the place. He wants to say exactly where he talked, and it's very detailed place. But like I said, the Midrash say, why do you need all these words for just say, where are you? So they said, okay, the verse use words to relate the place. He choose words that remind us some cases from the short history.
Okay.
And Moshe, before his death, is remind to the people the sins they have to be careful not only not to do it again, but also to fix in their life. So we have in the Midrash a explanation for each word, which sin is a clue
Okay.
in this word.
So each name of the place is reminding them of something that happened at that place in the past.
That's right.
And so so he's saying remember those things that happened, not necessarily remember the places, but remember what happened at those places.
That's right.
And what we can learn, how we can continue to do better than what we did before.
That's right.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so then Moshe begins talking about their journey, and he pulls out specific things from what happened in the history. He talks about the appointment of judges, and then he goes into the mission of the spies. So I guess, why is it that Moshe is retelling these things? And maybe another question with that is, why do we need it written twice? Because not only did he do this for them, but we also get to hear the story a couple times. Why do we have this retelling, and why these specific ones?
It's great study for us because, first of all, the principle. You have to check back your life, to check back your day. You stand on evening and you have to think about what happened in this day and what you did and what you could do better and where you failed. You have to consider your behavior. This is the first principle, is very, very important. You can't improve your life without thinking about what happened. This is the first principle. Of course, as a nation, you have to do it also. Not only as a private man, but also as a people, nation. You have to check your deeds. Where did you fail and what you can do not to fail again. And in the beginning of the land, before the entering, they have to think about that and improve. So not only every evening you have to make your consideration, but also in a unique events before you change. Generally, change is very important, but also very dangerous because you leave your customs, you change your customs, and sometimes you can lose very good fundaments of your life. Sometimes we recognize problems in our life and we want to change. And it's very important comment. Don't be revolutionary. Don't think that what was until today is wrong and we have to change everything. No, if you want to make change, you have to to criticize and to learn deep the history and your tradition, your habits, and find the good points and criticize the bad points you want to change. And make the change on the base of the former situation. Not to erase everything, because you will lose a lot of good points. So not revolutionary, but evolution. To improve step by step.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I think it is difficult because a lot of times we don't want to look at our mistakes. A lot of times we don't, it's uncomfortable to say I messed up. You have to be humble and put aside your pride and say, okay, yes, I made a mistake and I want to go back and look at it in order to find out, well, okay, what can I do better? How can I do something different next time in a similar situation? Or what can I do now to fix, like you said, also fixing what we did wrong is very important. I think that's, excuse me, just a really important life principle, and I read about it in a lot of leadership books, is that it's so important to go back and look at what has happened before, to study those things out, and to be honest about the mistakes, and not to look at the mistakes as a failure, but to look at them as a building block to success, because every person who's, talk about inventors and things, they make so many mistakes until they get to the success. And I think it's the same way with anything. When we do something and we mess up, it's just one step closer to, if we handle it properly, it's one step closer to being successful and recognizing, okay, that was the wrong thing. Now I want to do the right thing. And how can I do that? So I think that's a really, really good principle that I think, especially in Western culture, where everybody is so insecure and scared that, I might make a mistake, or what are people going to think about me? I think it's even more important for us to recognize, no, it's okay. It's actually good. It's a good leadership quality to go back, look, see the mistakes, and prepare yourself to do better for the next time. I think that's really, really good.
Yes, you said humble, and you're right. But sometimes one can think that he's humble because he ready to destroy everything because he failed. And that's not humble. That's proud.
That's a good point.
Pride. Because you have not to say, everything was bad, it's wrong, I'll change everything. Now I know. Now I saw the light, and now I can do it great. No, you can't do it great at once. You have to improve. To be humble is to recognize exactly the fail point, the problematic point, and fix it and continue your life. And next time to find another point and to check yourself. You changed. Did you do it good? Did you do it good, the change? Maybe you did it too strong, too intensive, the change. Maybe you have to change, light change. You have to check yourself, step by step. This is the humble, to do it easy with a lot of thoughts.
And I've definitely recognized it being true within our organization, trying to lead and trying to figure out how to make changes. I remember when I first started and I found one area that I wanted to change. And I was like, okay, we're just going to, change all these positions. We're going to change all this. And I very quickly realized that it was much better to go slow and make changes slowly so everybody could adjust. And so I think there's a lot of truth on a lot of different levels of what you're saying. And I think it may be especially relevant for us who are studying the Torah as the nations, and we're trying to figure out, okay, there's a lot here. Like, where do we even start? What do we do? What do we take on? What do we throw out? What do we embrace? How does this even work? And so I think this is a really good lesson for us. Is we're studying the Bible, we be very, very careful about, okay, what's one more thing that I'm going to take on and learn and study and apply to my life, and not feel like I have to apply everything or jump into a whole bunch of things. And that's really been very fruitful, I can say from my experience, is just finding that one thing and saying, okay, I'm going to start trying to honor the Shabbat and try to rest, try to study, try to pray more, those kind of things on that day, or then take one more thing, and very slowly build and grow and grow as a family in setting different traditions has been very, very fruitful, I think, and a very good progression, I think, for us.
And sometimes even take step back to say, oh, this change wasn't proper. I have to go back and try something else. This principle is very important also there are many people that think they have to improve their faith, their religious in Christianity. And I think our message is, don't throw everything. If you recognize fail, okay. Learn deeper your faith, your origins, and find one point you want to improve. Do it step by step. Don't throw everything. You have a lot of bless and a lot of good in your faith. Don't lose it.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really special about our relationship is we're okay recognizing that we have really big differences, but we also have really big things in common, and we're both okay with learning and slowly progressing, and we both believe that we're both wanting to see Israel restored and Israel be a light to the nations and all these really big things. And so I think that's really, really important point, that we slowly progress together on this journey. And that's, like I said, that's why I really appreciate our relationship, because I can feel that from you. Is you're not like, oh, you have to be a certain way in order to be my friend, or you have to be a certain, there are those things, but it's not the nitty gritty, details of a religion or how we believe or something like that. And so I really appreciate that from you and from a lot of our Jewish friends. They allow us to come in, study together, and learn together, and restore the land together. And that's such an amazing thing that we can do that together. And very, very, we're very honored to be able to be together and to do that. I think it's amazing, very amazing thing. All right, let's see. This has been really good. Are there any particular, or I guess the question is, why did Moshe pull out these specific stories in here? It seems like he kind of starts telling history, but he doesn't go back to the beginning when they first come out of Egypt or something like that. It seems like he really picks out certain ones, parts of the history. Is there a reason why we have the appointment of the judges first off, or the mission of the spies? Obviously, that's a really big one. I could understand, why that one's there. But can you help us understand, why he went right to these particular stories?
Again, we have to remember that we are talking in the entering to the land.
Right.
And the system of the court, the judges, is very important. You can't establish nation in its place, its land, without good system of judge that can, it's not enough only to talk about values and ideas. It's not enough. You have to make system that encourage one who is righteous and treat one who is wicked. Because to talk only about the values, it's not enough. It will not set it in the reality, the values. This is the main message. You are going to enter the land. You have to build nation of kind and justice and truth. So this is the first thing the judges. And of course the story of the spies, that is very important, because maybe the failure of the spies was they thought that they have to, it's like they said, what do you want from us? If you want from us to be real, so we can't take this land, there are enemies, it's too dangerous, we can't. Do you want us to be, to trust miracles? Okay, so there is no logic, just miracles. And it's not that and not that. When we enter the land, we have to consider all the real considerations, and our will supposed to help us, to give us the courage to deal with all the problems, and to trust God that He will help us. But after we made all the considerations, the real consideration, the reality. And this is very, very important. Whenever we talk about the mitzvah of Yishuv Haaretz, to settle the land, we have to use the reality, the logic considerations, but to strengthen our will, that help us to confront all the challenges.
Right, because when the children of Israel came into the land, there were real challenges. They had to literally fight wars. They had to literally sow the land, to garden, to grow animals and crops. And there was a lot of reality that set in, because all the way through the desert, they're eating manna from heaven. Their shoes aren't wearing out on their feet. Their clothes aren't wearing out on their back. There's a lot of miracles happening in order to get them to the land. Yeah, a lot of reality sets in after they're going to be crossing the Jordan and going into this new life inside the land. So they're going to need a lot of strength in order to fulfill God's will in the land. And that's actually something I wanted to ask, because here at the end, and speaking of like the military and fighting the wars, the very end of the portion, it says here in chapter 3, verse 22, it says, "You shall not fear them," talking about Israel's enemies, "you shall not fear them, for HaShem your God, He shall wage war for you." That's a really powerful, strong statement that God would wage war. In some ways, it kind of goes against, especially a Christian thinking of God being merciful and loving and kind, which we know He is all of those things. So how does a merciful, kind God also be a God of war and of taking out enemies? Those things are a little bit hard to see as one God. How does that work? How is God a mighty warrior? How does that work with Him also being kind and compassionate?
Yes, it's indeed that God is merciful and kind, but we can't close our eyes from the other ways that God acts in the reality. And even if we want to focus on the kind and merciful, sometimes to establish world of kind and merciful, you must use fightings. Mm-hmm. If you leave the world to the enemies, to the cruel and wickedness, so you will not make world of kind and merciful. So, we have, it's like list of the good ways that God act in the world. And sometimes we have combined of two of them. There is a courage in the merciful and merciful in the courage. You must have the readiness and the ability to act strong, like was in Egypt. Beyad chazaka u'zruah netuya, in strong hand, because without that, the world will stay with the problems, with the cruelty. So really, God help us to fight. And this is part of His kind and merciful.
Wow. That's a really, really good, powerful answer. And it looks like we have run out of time. But thank you so much, Rabbi Yonadav. It's been a great study together. Thank you for all of your insights and sharing. Really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you who have joined us today for this study. It's been wonderful. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've gotten a lot out of it. If you have, and then please share this with your friends and family. We'd love for this to go far and wide all throughout the nations. If we can get the word of God out to the nations, we've accomplished our goal. So we appreciate your help with that. And if you have some feedback, we'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email at zach@hayuvel.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. May God bless you, and Shabbat Shalom from the beautiful, exceedingly good land of Israel.